manage eating out with friends and family and sticking to my plan? Especially with Christmas around the corner, I'm worried I'm going to go off track.
Yeah, this is a eating out and figuring out how to eat out and still make progress on your fitness journey is like one of the most common questions we get. You know, pretty much every time someone's inquiring about RNT, it's like, well, can I still eat out? Will I still be able to socialise? And then even when you start, I've got this social event coming out, what do I do? I'm travelling here, what do I do? And was the question like how, eating out and lose weight?
Yeah, so how do I manage eating out with family and friends and sticking to my plan?
Sticking to your plan. So let's assume you're not in the final stage of hitting that checkpoint, which is the best shape of your life. You're not in the grind phase where if you're eating out out of choice in the grind phase, you're probably not going to get the results that you want. That's just the first caveat. So let's assume that you're not in the grind phase and you're either early on in the process phase or you're just trying to maintain your results long term. I think there's a couple of key things that you don't want to do. One thing you don't want to do is you don't want to starve yourself all day. You don't want to starve yourself all day long, think, oh, I've got a big meal tonight, because all that's going to happen is you're going to turn up and you're probably going to lose control as soon as the smells start hitting you. You see the menu, you see the bread basket, you see what other people have got. Next thing you know, you're picking at that, picking at this, and you're just so hungry that you need to let go. So that's the thing you don't want to do. You don't want to starve yourself all day. And the second thing you want to do is you want to remember that the food is always going to be there. Like, food's not going anywhere in the world, right? You're always going to have. Luckily, we are fortunate that food is in abundance in our society, in the Western world. The problem is not in abundance. The problem is that we don't have control of it. So remembering that food is always going to be there, there's always going to be an opportunity to have it again, can just shift your mindset around eating out, eating out with family and friends, because you're not going to just treat it like your last meal on earth and the last supper. So that's another mindset shift you want to have. And the third thing is just to get real smart with your choices. So this is a learning process that happens over months and years. And there's two aspects to it. There's a tangible nutritional education that you need to learn, and there's the intangible identity shift. So starting with the identity shift, it's really you have to think and become someone who eats healthy, thinks healthy, wants to be healthy, and from that, when you have that mindset and identity, you will then naturally not binge, naturally not overeat. Okay, that's one thing, but that takes a long time to get to. The way you get there is through nutritional education and trial and error. So this is where understanding protein, fats, carbs, what they look like in different foods, what different food makeups are, all that, how that all fits together. That's an integral part of it. And then there is going to be an element of trial and error. You're going to get things wrong sometimes. You can get things right sometimes. But you'll learn how your body responds to different foods, how good you are at guesstimating, and over time you'll be able to eyeball things roughly and be able to make simple swaps. So for example, if you normally have chicken and rice at home, when you go out and let's say you're trying to maintain your weight or trying to lose a bit of weight, you may go for chicken or some sort of protein with vegetables, and you're not going to get the carbs because you know there's extra fats and oils and all these things in the meat. So you just go with something like that, and that's a simple swap that can be very easily done on a day-to-day basis. So I think the simple swap is a really good way, and then it's building out nutritional education as you go along. Anything you'd like to add to that? Because I think you've been someone who's mastered it over the years.
I say mastered, naturally. The only thing is I've only recently learned since joining RNT about nutrition. So prior to that, I was just getting on with it and eating accordingly and I'm never really overeaten, but that's just been me. And now I've learnt more about, okay, I need to fuel my body with proteins and I need to eat certain more vegetables that I never used to really eat, or fruits. So that's helped me. But it's funny you talk about mistakes, because literally I'm still learning, because this week I made a vegan lasagna, and I was just there like, oh my god, this whole lasagna has like 50 grams of protein in it. And I got really excited that I'd made a high protein dish. And then he comes up, reads the nutrition information. He was like, actually, this only has 20 grams for the whole thing. I was like, what? How does that even? So he was teaching me about the nutritional information at the back of the pack, because I wasn't sure if it was dry weight, cooked weight. I just got quite confused with it. So there's always going to be some errors, but it's a learning process and it does take a lot of time. So
and then when you're actually in the scenario of eating out, the big thing is understanding portion control, because look, you're not going to get the exact calories It's just not going to happen. And it depends on where you are on the journey. If you're on the route to your checkpoint, you want to minimize it as much as possible. Like trying to guesstimate, you're not going to get it right. If you're going to eat out multiple times a week, you're not going to get the results. Like it's very rarely going to happen for someone who's a beginner or even early on in the journey. Every time I want to get shredded, I don't eat out every 3 times a week. It's just not going to happen. I'll just minimize the times I do eat out. When I do, I'll pick places that make sense. So picking places where you can judge the nutritional information, it's good foods, that makes a big difference. And when you're actually at the event itself, then I think paying attention to meal hygiene is really important. So having 15 to 20 chews of your food, putting your knife and fork down between the meals, spending at least 15-20 minutes at the meal, focusing on the conversation rather than the plate. All these things can make a big difference in firstly your satiety levels, your digestion levels, but also naturally how much you actually consume. If you take your time with your food, you're less likely to stuff yourself. Obviously not a proven formula, but it helps a lot. All these things, when you combine it, will really, really help.